D, wait for it, light bulb.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? Ching ching! Alright, so today I am going to be discussing some spoilers and some details about the plot of Wonder Woman 1984. We're just going to go through the whole movie, and I'm going to tell you what I've read online and go through all that nonsense. I just want to also say that if you do not want to know anything about Wonder Woman 1984, like nothing at all, stop right now and turn this video off, because I'm going to give away some stuff about the characters and what happens to them in the plot and everything. So before I get started on all that, I just want to say that if you like what I do and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. Within the past 6 months, YouTube did a bot and old account cleanse/purge, and there was some collateral damage. So please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing my videos, and I thank you in advance. So why don't we just go ahead and get started. So Wonder Woman 1984 starts off with Themyscira, and we see a young Diana, okay? And she's about 8 or 9 in this and everything. And she's running towards this gigantic coliseum that we saw in the trailer. During this whole thing, future Diana is giving a voiceover about home. And so there's like this Olympic style kind of race that's going to take place on Themyscira. And Diana, as a young girl, is going to be competing against older Amazons, which we also see in the trailer. And Queen Hop watch the race as it begins. Now, they first start off by running over the column and balancing themselves on these pendulums and everything. And we saw that in the trailer also. And then Diana takes the lead over the next stage, and she's diving from the columns into the ocean below, which we saw that big coliseum was right next to the ocean, so that makes sense. So then she washes ashore and then gets to a waiting horse, and then Diana scoops up a bow and fires a shot at a circular target, and blue smoke billows out of it, and the blue curtain drops from the Colosseum, signaling that the crowd that Diana is in the lead. Now, this race continues, and then Diana's still leading until she takes her eyes off of the path and she is knocked off of her horse by a branch. Now, the horse scurries away, and then the other Amazons pass her, and Diana spots a gully and slides down it, saving time, finding her horse and regaining the lead. Now, she leads the racers back into the arena, and the last stage is to grab a spear and toss it through a giant ring. Diana grabs it, and Antiope grabs the spear out of her hands before she can throw it, and Diana loses. And she complains to Antiope, saying that it's not fair and she should have won. Antiope knows she cheated by taking the other path, and there's a lesson here about patience and not taking the easy way out. Q, Wonder Woman 1984, the titles, and at the beginning it's just those initials. Then we flash forward to Washington, D.C. during the 1980s, aka 1984, which then we get a montage of the 80s and what happened and everything, and then this all goes into the mall, all to this mall area. Now, in the mall, a couple of guys enter a store and pull a gun on the employee. Now, they're not interested in the merchandise that's in front of the store. They're interested in what's in the back, which is a priceless artifacts that have been smuggled in. Now, the robbers bolt, but one of them trips and his gun hits the ground, and people in the mall start freaking out, and the cops show up, and we see that in the trailer. Now, one of the goons grabs a little girl and dangles her over the second-story railing, saying that he won't go back to jail. Now, this little girl asks her mom about the woman in the stories who saves people. Will she show up? The mom says it's just a story and everything, and this is how they get past the whole her not being known in Batman vs. Superman, how she goes into hiding and everything, and this is how they get around it in this movie. But of course, all of us know from this movie that it's Wonder Woman that she's talking about. So then Wonder Woman shows up and saves the little girl and takes out the goons and everything, and we see that in the trailer. And there's an awe moment, and then there's like this little girl sees her, and Diana saves her, and then she also kills the security camera, which we see that. She grabs her little horn and she throws it and everything, and she takes out all the security cameras, so there's no footage of her, and her identity stays hidden. And like I said before, this movie just, respects that whole staying hidden for 100 years that she, after Trevor dies. So then we go over to meet Barbara Minerva. Now, in this one, they've described her as kind of like Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns before Max Schreck throws her out of a window. And she works at the Smithsonian. And when she comes in, she drops a bunch of things and nobody cares to help her except for Diana. And Diana, who also works at the Smithsonian, which in the Empire magazine article, she works at the Smithsonian so she can, if any kind of mythological artifacts come in or magical artifacts come in, she is there to stop it and try to fix it before, us regular humans get a hold of it and start using it to our advantage. So then she helps Barbara and Minerva, and Barbara's taken aback by the fact that somebody has helped her in her life, and usually nobody else asks her. So she asks Diana for if she wants to go get some coffee, and Diana, declines and is like, maybe someday. And then, of course, a woman asks if anybody knows who Barbara and Minerva is, and then Kristen Wiig's character is like, yes, that's me, you hired me and everything, and which is like this whole, oh, you don't really remember me kind of thing. It's very like cliche and everything. So it turns out the feds want to know about the artifacts from the store in the mall, and that's her speciality. That's Barbara and Minerva's speciality. So then Diana goes home, and we see pictures in chronological order in time since the first movie, and she was bridesmaid at Charlie's wedding, the drunk Irish guy, and then her and Etta, who is elderly in one picture. They're on a ship and everything, and of course there's a photo of Steve, and she still has his watch, and we see that in the trailer also. So then the next day, Diana checks in on Barbara and finds her working on a strange rock. Now this rock is, of course, going to be in throughout the entire movie, and it plays a big part. Now, they joke about some of the properties it might have, and one guy takes it and jokingly wishes that he could have coffee right this second, and when he walks away, an intern walks into the room and says he has extra coffees. Now, nobody takes this seriously at this point and everything, and Diana takes the stone as people make cracks about what they'd wish for, and Diana, while holding the stone, just says she knows what she would wish for. And at that moment, Steve's watch in her apartment suddenly springs to life and starts shaking, which we saw in the trailer also. So then Diana and Barbara they go out to lunch, and we see this in the trailer, and Barbara asks her if she's ever loved somebody, and she's like, once. Have you ever loved somebody? Oh yeah, people all the time. After that, Barbara walks home, and while she's there, she spots a homeless man that she's familiar with and gives him some money. A little later, a guy on the street hits on her, and then when rejected, he grabs her, and Diana appears and knocks him out. And then tells Barbara it's really just momentum and not that hard to hit someone that far. And then the next day, Barbara takes the stone and returns to the thought of wishes. Now, she wants to be strong and sexy / desired, so she wishes to be just like Diana. And since Diana is also Wonder Woman, she gets her strength and everything. So when she walks out of her office, she nearly trips and ends up jumping and balancing herself on some chairs. Now, she's then introduced to Maxwell Lord, a TV oil baron kind of guy and everything. And then, so he owns a company called Black Gold and wants to make a large donation to the Smithsonian. And so he's hitting on Barbara openly, and when Diana shows up, Max turns his attention to her and says he's throwing a huge party to celebrate his donation. And Diana says she'll probably skip it and is concerned about Maxwell's actions around Barbara. Then Max returns to his office. When he gets upstairs, it's in shambles. He's broke, and you see multiple letters saying bills are past due, and all of his oil deals have gone poorly, and he finds out it's his weekend to take his 8-year-old son, Alistair. Now, he promises the kid that all of the time he's been away will be worth it, and Alistair will be proud that he's his father. At the same time, Stag, an investor who is in the comic book, Simon Stag, he appears and tells Max that he wants out of the deals. And Max's scheme involving getting partners to buy oil rights in the United States and Canada. And then he tells Max, you better come up with my money and fast. So then Barbara gets a makeover for the party. She just think Michelle Pfeiffer. All dolled up and everything. And we see it in the trailer. She gets the black dress and her hair done and everything, and she's at the party. And Max finds her and suggests that they go somewhere more quiet, her office. So then they start making out, and Max sees the wishing stone, and he takes it behind her back when they kiss. So then Diana ends up going to the party, and there's a guy there that keeps calling after her, but she tells him to get lost and everything, and that she doesn't know him, but he, repeats some of the Steve's lines from the first movie, and she quickly gets it. And the guy in front of her is Steve Trevor, and he's in a new body. But Diana is the only one that sees Steve. Grace Randolph, a YouTuber, did a video about this, and I'll leave a link in the description down below and how she explains that. But basically, there's a movie from like the 70s or whatever where it's like he comes back, everybody sees a different guy, but Diana sees Steve Trevor. So they go for a nighttime stroll in the park, and he says he remembers being on the plane, and then he just woke up in bed. And he knows there was something in between, and there's something quite good, but he can't remember it. And so then he takes Diana back to the guys that bodies he's in, back to his apartment. And there's some 80s jokes in there and everything. And Steve checks out his new body in the mirror, and he's like, this'll do. So then Max returns to his office with the stone, and he knows what it is. He takes it, and he wishes to become the dream stone itself. The stone then dissolves, and Max is filled with a huge amount of power. So the next morning, Steve and Diana wake up next to each other in bed, and he suggests that they never leave and everything, and she's agreeable to that, but she thinks it's a good idea to find out why this magic rock brought Steve back to life. So then we get to this great sequence where Steve finds out about modern day clothes, and Diana hates all the choices that he's making and everything, and that's where we get to see him in the fanny pack, which I love fanny packs. Who doesn't love fanny packs? Weirdos, that's it. Then they go back to the Smithsonian, and Diana finds the stone is missing, and Barbara says that she gave it to Max because of his donations to the Smithsonian, and Diana is taken aback by this, by Barbara's look and attitude, but heads off with Steve. Then Max, Lord, goes to Stag Industries to find his investor. Simon Stagg is pissed off, and he apologizes to him for the wells drying up and saying that he should have stopped when he started instead of pressing forward, and he wishes things would turn around. And then he grabs Stag's hands and says, "Don't you wish that too?" And he does, and Max is thrilled. He then says he'll crush Stag in return. And so then they go downstairs, and they find armed cops ready to arrest Simon Stagg for tax crimes. So then Max returns to his office to find his secretary unable to handle all of their phone calls, and all of the oil fields struck rich, and new investors want in and everything. And Max takes her hand, and she wishes for help, and new workers appear out of the blue, and people who want to work there and everything, and all that stuff. Then we see Diana and Steve, and we see all this in the trailer about her explaining modern art, and we get that trash can gag and everything, and they head over to Maxwell Lord's offices. There where hundreds of people are outside trying to get in to get hired, and they head down an alleyway to find a locked gate, and Diana takes it out, but she struggles when she's taking it out, and she finally breaks it. She's all like, it must be a strong lock and everything, and they end up in Maxwell Lord's empty office, and they find his overdue bills and the shattered base of the wishing stone. And I just want to say, at this point in time, you're starting to find out that Diana has made a wish, but with the wishes comes a price. And her price is, yeah, she got Steve back, but she's losing her powers. And you'll find that out later on throughout the movie. And then Diana makes the comment about something about like objects like this once existed, and it infused with the power of the gods, and the objects were incredibly powerful and their danger level depending on which god infused them and everything. And then learned from Max's secretary that he headed for Cairo to meet with an oil baron. And I just want to say, I wish they would have had another god in this movie instead of the wishing stone, because having a god would have been way better than this weird wishing stone thing. But at the same time, it's like, whatever. So then Diana tells Steve about these planes and everything, but Steve doesn't have a passport, so they can't get on a regular plane. So they sneak into a military base, and they hop on a fighter jet. Now, soldiers start up here because they scramble and everything, but Steve reassures Diana that once they're in the air, they'll lose them. And except the thing is, Steve doesn't know about this thing called radar. So in the movie, then they're in the air and everything, and they're flying. The fighter jet goes invisible. So then Diana, she says something like she loves the fact that he can fly. It was something she could never do. And he says something about it's just about riding the wind or whatnot. And there are these fireworks, and we see this in the trailer, and these fireworks and off in the distance, and it's the 4th of July, and Steve turns the jets into the fireworks, and this part is very beautiful and everything, and very well shot. So then in Cairo, Max, who is there, is meeting the leader of the country, and another wish is made for the leader's enemies to be removed from his lands now and forever. And then a giant wall appears, and as well, newly founded artifacts that seals the leader's hold on the country. Now Max wants his oil in return, but finds out that the oil was already sold to Saudi Arabia. So Max takes his honor guard and military instead, asking if they know where the nearest person with oil is. So in this whole thing, we learn in a newscast that America is supporting Egypt and Russia is supporting Egypt's enemies. So the Cold War is starting to heat up and everything, because that's when this whole thing takes place. And then Steve and Diana follow the mayhem of the people of the opposite sides of the wall, and they take a taxi, and we see them show up. They take a taxi, and they end up passing Max's convoy on the street, and they buy a car from a driver, and they ditch him and everything, and they go on a side road. Anyways, so they catch up to the convoy, and Max sees Diana, and he orders the soldiers that he's with to get rid of her. And this is that whole scene that we saw in the trailer. And it's like this kind of almost like Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of thing. It's an action sequence, and Diana is moving up on the trucks, and she's just hopping from truck to truck. And then she takes a bullet to the arm, and it actually hurts her. And then at another point, she nearly is crushed by 2 vehicles, but then Steve wedges the back one in between to keep her safe. And Diana makes it to Max, saying that he needs to give up the stone, and Max says that he is the stone now. But then she sees some kids playing some ball in the street up ahead, and she uses her lasso to swing and grab the kids, and then slips from her fingers, and she crashes to the street, and Steve blocks off the convoy, but her weakness nearly got her and the kids killed. But Max is able to get away, a lead vehicle, and at this point she's all like, she tells the kids, hey, don't tell anybody I'm Wonder Woman kind of thing. And then Diana figures out that Max destroyed the stone, and the power flows through him, and it also clear to Diana that she is weak and they don't know why, but obviously we know why as the audience. So then back in America, Barbara is doing some research on the stone, and Diana gives her a buzz to find out what she's found out about the stone. And the stone has been, glimpsed and everything through cultures throughout history. It was in the Romans, the Mayans, etc. But after it's found, the culture always disappears under mysterious circumstances. And then Barbara has one last lead on it. This fortune teller she met at the party, and Diana says she'll meet her there. So then Max returns back home, and his body is starting to deteriorate under all of the wishes that he grants. And then he needs to take his son again at this point, which he's annoyed with. And the kid loves his dad and says that he wishes for him to get what he wants, which breaks Max's heart, but also, makes him even more powerful. So Max decides he wants to see the president. So then Diana and Steve and Barbara find the fortune teller guy from the party whose ancestors were Mayan, and they learn that by using the wish, you lose something important to you. And you can recant your wish and get that thing back, but then the wish goes away. By bringing Steve back to life, Diana lost her powers. Now, if she recants to get her powers back, Steve will disappear, and the same thing will happen if they kill Maxwell Lord. But then at this point, Barbara argues that she doesn't want to give up what she has and everything. She doesn't want to give up her wish. And then she disappears when Diana's attention is elsewhere in the conversation. She's all like, I want to be sexy and appealing and everything and be all strong and stuff. I don't want to get rid of this and everything. So then Diana and Steve head back to Diana's apartment to find Maxwell Lord. She has a security room in her apartment as well as something behind a sheet. And Steve asks what it is, and Diana tells him to take the lasso of truth because it can also show you things. Now he does, and he learns the legend of one of Diana's ancestors, that when the Amazons retreated to Themyscira, this ancestor stood against all men in armor forged from bits of her sister's armor, so strong that thousands of men surrounding her couldn't pierce it. The sheet, of course, covers that gold armor that we've seen in everything. So then Flash over to Max. He meets the president in the White House, and the president wants more nukes and weapons to fight Russia in the upcoming Cold War. So Max grants his wish, and in return, he wants the president's power. Coincidentally, Max sees designs for something, which is a system to take over any television broadcast in the world, and this is that big satellite that we saw in the trailer. So Max believes that this satellite can help him grant more wishes all at once in just this big, massive amount. So then Diana and Steve encounter Max as he's leaving the White House, and big fight ensues, and we see that in the trailer and in magazine articles with Max's guard. Diana doesn't want to kill them because it's not their fault, but they take them down to get to Max, and she lassos him and everything, and we see that in the picture from Empire magazine. But Diana is launched back across the room by Barbara, who is super strong, just like Diana, and she shows up, and she's kind of like a bodyguard at this point to Maxwell Lord. And she won't give up her power and will protect Max. So a fight ensues with Barbara kicking Diana's butt. And Diana uses the lasso of truth, and Barbara rips it out of her hands. And then she just, again, continues to beat the crap out of her within an inch of consciousness. So then Maxwell Lord and Barbara, who follows them, they get on a plane and a helicopter, and they head towards that satellite. So then Max tells her that his body is falling apart, but he's using the president's satellite system to gain wishes all over the world, and then he'll get his health back from those wishes to be rejuvenated. And he says he's feeling generous and asks Barbara what she would wish for, and Barbara doesn't want to be like someone else anymore. She wants to be unique, an apex predator. So then we hop over to Russia, seeing all of America's new nuclear bombs show up on the map, and they consider it an act of war. And they're preparing to launch their own in retaliation. Now, there is absolute chaos in the streets, consequences of Max's wishes rippling through different parts of society or whatnot. And Steve helps an injured Diana walk as people freak out on the streets, and he takes her aside, and we see this in the trailer. He takes her aside and he tells her that he had an amazing life and that he loves seeing the modern day, but the world needs her and she needs to recant her wish. And he's like, you know what to do. And Diana, she's like, no, I don't want to give it up. She's like, I give up so much all the time, never thinking of myself. Why can't I just have this one thing? And he kisses her and he says he loves her, but this is more important than that. So then Diana breaks and she's crying and everything, knowing it has to be done. And she tells Steve she'll never love again, but he tells her in no way does he want that, and there are so many people out there, and she shouldn't be alone, and maybe the guy in this body, and he seems nice and everything, and she kisses him, and she's, kissing him goodbye and everything. So then what happens is Diana turns her back on Steve and leaving him behind a corner and out of frame and everything, and she walks towards the camera slowly. So then this is the part where we see her, and she starts walking, and then she just starts running and sprinting. What happens as she bolts, Wonder Woman returns, and then Diana launches into the air. So then Max arrives at the satellite broadcast installation, and there's a podium set where the president would address the world, as well as some kind of high-tech signal chamber or whatnot. So Max addresses the entire planet, looking into the screen for what their hearts desire. And we see this in the trailer. He's all like, you just have to want it, or you just have to wish for it, or whatever he says. And everyone sees the broadcast, and Diana included, and she rushes home and takes and gets that golden armor and gets ready to put that on. So then all across the world, people make wishes everywhere. One woman shouts at a guy that he wishes he'd be forced to go back from where he came from. He wishes she'd drop dead. He turns around to see police forcing people into cars as the woman collapses from a heart attack. So Max picks and chooses what to take from each of the wishers. And he steals health and rejuvenates himself. Now his son Alistair watches from his office building in DC, terrified as rioters threaten to bust down the door. Now guards protect the satellite installation. In the air, they see something coming. And that something was with wings, and it's Diana in her golden armor from her ancestors. And she knocks the guards out. Now above her, she is confronted by a mutated Barbara, who is now a full-fledged in Cheetah form. We've seen a picture of Cheetah in this, and she looks just like this in the movie or whatnot. We also seen the Lego thing. And now her hair is streaked black and white. And she has black marks on her face, like it's kind of like running mascara. Now Diana is saddened by the fact that Cheetah has changed herself, and they fight. And Cheetah is powerful, and she rips chunks of Diana's armor off of her, and the wings are destroyed. And that's when she gets rid of them, and they end up barreling through power coupling and dislodging wires and all that stuff, and they fall into the water. And Diana, holding Cheetah down, she begs her to recant her wish, and Cheetah refuses. Then she's like, "I'm so sorry," as a sparkling wire hits the pool and fries Cheetah. She doesn't die, by the way. And Diana carries Cheetah out of the water and sets her down. And Cheetah is still alive and everything, but she's badly hurt. So then Diana enters to find Max addressing the country, and she tries to get him, but Max has the power of a god and easily keeps her away. Diana asks why he keeps going. He already has enough power, but he wants more, always more. Max throws Diana against the wall, and he taunts her about Steve. But he says that he's not a bad man, and she can have him back if she wishes it. And she wants him back more than anything, but the price is too high, and she has this quiet monologue about wanting to recant the wishes. When he's asked why she thinks he'd do that, she says, "I wasn't talking to you." Max looks down to see the lasso tied around his ankle, and Diana connected to all of the people that Max was broadcasting to. Now, there's still chaos everywhere, and Alistair leaves the building to find dangerous streets. Now, Max sees him and is suddenly terrified for his son. Finally, he recants his wish to be the Dreamstone. Outside, we see Barbara, not Cheetah, in the end, and she has recanted her wish too. In the field, Max arrives in a helicopter and finds his son. He cries, apologizes. Alistair says he wished he would find him. Later on, it's Christmas with snow on the ground and decorations everywhere and all that, yada, yada, yada. And Diana walks into Plaza Square, seeing people being kind to each other, and a stranger says something to her, and it's the man Steve was inhabiting. And he's nice, and they wish each other a happy holiday, and he walks away. Another Diana voiceover talking about her faith in people, and she flies through the air, and then she goes full Superman. Wonder Woman flies far into the distance to answer the call. So that is, in a rough nutshell, the plot and the details from Wonder Woman 1984. I'm just using all of the stuff that we've seen before and explaining how it goes along and everything. So what do you guys think about this movie? Do you think it's going to be good from all these plot leaks and everything and from the images that we've seen? Do you hate me for this video? Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. You know I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next video. You guys have a good day. Ching ching. Bye.